Good afternoon. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us for our January edition of the Chamber Speaker Series. So we're here today because we'd all like to hear about the wonderful things that have transpired in the city of Bellingham over the course of the last year, and we're very pleased to have Kelli Linville with us. Mayor Linville, of course, was born and raised here in Bellingham. She graduated from Bellingham High School in 1966 and holds bachelor's degrees and master's degrees in speech-language pathology from Western Washington University. She was first elected in 1992 to represent the 42nd District in the Washington State House. With a small hiatus after that, she then went on to serve 17 years as our representative from the 42nd District, capping that in 2009 and 2010 as the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, the primary fiscal committee for the House. She became the mayor of Bellingham on January 1st, 2012, and was very kind. I think her first public event after that was to come and speak to this group with a State of the City address, which really was setting the table and talking about some of the things that she wanted to see accomplished in her 4 years as mayor. So we're very pleased to have her back today to tell us what has transpired in the last year and give us a vision for the community and for the business community in the future. Please join me in welcoming Kelli Linville.
Thank you very much, and I'm so happy I'm not staring at a bunch of empty spaces here. When I first walked in, I thought, uh-oh. I am a chamber member and have been a chamber member for, I guess Ken could tell me how many years. It's been a long time. So when I come and speak to the chamber, I feel like I'm coming to speak to a group of people with whom I have worked for a long time. So when I came and spoke to the chamber yesterday, it seems like only yesterday, or last year, and when I gave my report to the council when I first started in January of last year, I called it my 60-day status report. So I really wasn't giving any state of anything because I didn't feel like I could say that I could thank the council for what they had done, but I couldn't really take any credit for anything. So today I still get to thank the council for what we've done. Michael Lilliquist is here, and just kind of go through what I had said I wanted to get accomplished in this first year and where I think we've gotten. And there's 6 topics that I had presented to the council. The very first thing I wanted to do was create a team. And that doesn't matter if we're working on the waterfront, we're working on Medic 1, we're working on Lake Whatcom, we're looking at our downtown plan. There's really nothing that we do in the city of Bellingham that comes in a silo or only has one group of people that are working on it. So we are doing city work plans and city budgets, and I have a really strong department head team that I get to work with. We meet every single week for an hour and a half, and we go through, we problem solve together. And it's pretty exciting for me. I like that kind of system stuff. We are also hiring, we've got 3 new department heads. We had an interim Human Resources Department head, which we hired when I first got here. We hired a new city attorney, and I will be able to introduce you to our new city police chief on February 4th. His name is Cliff Cook. He is coming with a world of experience, and the thing that is most important to me is he's very strong on community policing. And I believe that community policing is a preventative measure that we can take to make sure that our community stays safe before we have to respond to other kinds of problems. So let me start with financial stability. I told the council that where I wanted to go is I wanted to have what I called fanatic discipline. That came from reading a book, Great by Choice, that all the department heads read when we went on our first retreat. And it meant we were going to set goals and then we were going to stick by them. We actually did do that, the department heads and myself, because we proposed a budget to the city council which met their goals. We're going to go to a 2-year budgeting system. So this year we have a smaller deficit than we've had. In 2014, we're going to have our revenues and our expenditures match. So I am actually I'm very proud of that because I've spent a lot of time on budgeting. I believe that we should have an investment in our infrastructure. Not only is it what we need for economic development, for building housing, or whatever, we also need it to create jobs. both direct jobs with our infrastructure and the infrastructure that development creates if we can get our new museum or if we can invest in our waterfront. We're going to create jobs when we do that, and I think that that's important. And we actually funded this year in our budget proposal. We only put in our budget proposal the capital investments we were going to make for the next 2 years. So we were not putting long-term projects in there. We were putting things that we're going to do right now so people can look and say, did you actually invest in that, and did you do it? And this is for the 2013 budget, and we did do that. We have outstanding liabilities, and we're paying those down. One of the most important things that we're going to do is we're going to start funding our environmental cleanup fund. We have multiple environmental cleanups that we need to do, and we have not funded them in the past, and we're not going to fund them all in 1 year, but we're putting money aside to do that. We're also looking at our pension liabilities and our facilities. We are in the process of doing a facility study I'll talk about a little bit later to look at how we maintain and operate the facilities that we already have, basically prior to building a whole lot of new things. So we had a sustainability green team when I got here, and my preference was if we believe in financial sustainability, we also have to believe in policy sustainability. And so we're talking about sustainability as things that you can count on for more than a year. You can count on what we're going to do. You can count on that there's going to be money there to pay for it. You can count on at the end of the year there'll be some accomplishments that match up with our city goals and the goals that are developed by our council and our community. So we want to build sustainability into all of our decisions, and that just means being able to count on our investments and what they produce for the public. And then finally, under financial sustainability, I want to make sure that we live within our means, that we pay as we go, that we put aside resources for what we know is coming up. And we did that with the budget that we proposed. Economic development, that might be something that members of the chamber care about. First thing is, we are not a developer. The city of Bellingham is not a developer, and in fact, we're not very good at it sometimes when we try. So we wanted to focus on strategic partnerships with the development community, with the business community, so that we would do our regulatory, permitting, infrastructure part, and others would do the investment and the developing and that part. The main partner that we have been working on that with is the port, and I'll talk about the waterfront later. But reestablishing relationships with people in the private sector that can do their job, and us in the public sector can make sure that we're protecting the public interest, is something that I wanted to do, and we have very good relationships. I actually had a good relationship with Ken before I started, but we've also worked on, Jack Louse and I, on making recommendations about how we get the Northwest Economic Center, the Council of Governments, the Chamber, other entities working together so that we're not each doing our own thing. I want to attract new businesses, but before I do that, I want to actually retain the businesses we have. So we are looking now at our vacancy rate. We are looking, the port is doing a survey of people that are doing business in our county, including Bellingham. We are looking and analyzing and paying attention to what those customers are saying about us and where we can make things that we want to have happen cheaper and faster and easier. We want to do that. But I think the main thing to remember is it's what we want to have happen that matches our community goals. Foster a vibrant downtown. I grew up in a vibrant Bellingham. There wasn't a mall when I grew up. There were 35,000 people, and I think they all walked through town every day. You knew everybody when you walked down the street. It was really fun. We are in a different era now where our population is almost tripled from what it was when I was a child here in Bellingham. And I walk through downtown, and there's so many wonderful things that are happening, but there's also so many empty storefronts and so many other concerns that people have that I am very excited that Darby Cowles, is it Cowles? Yeah, I keep trying to say her name wrong, It used to be Darby Gavigan. She's our lead on downtown redevelopment, and she is going through our downtown plan, and we are putting together another team like we had on the waterfront to make sure that we identify all the issues that we have, and they have been identified through this downtown planning process, and then what is our strategy to address them. And that's going to be a big part of what we do in 2013. We've also actually written for the first time, are writing an economic chapter to the comprehensive plan that the council will be presented with. We haven't had one before. It needs to be broad enough that we are not restricting what we want to do, but it has to be specific enough to meet our goals. So the council's going to have an opportunity to look at that and decide if they think we did a good job or not. Waterfront redevelopment. One of my priorities was reestablishing my relationship, the city's relationship with the port. I worked with the port for 17 years, and I have good relationships with the people down there. But I also had a new job, and my new job was being the mayor of Bellingham and making sure that the mayor and Bellingham and the port were all on an even footing, and we are. And I enjoyed working with Charlie Sheldon, who was the previous port director, but I also enjoy working with Rob Fix, who was the new port director. We decided to focus on getting documents to the Planning Commission so all of you in the public can start telling us what you think about the initial plan that we've made for developing the waterfront. There are some significant changes in phasing, in investment. One of the things there isn't a big change in is we have the same amount of parkland for all of you who are worried about parks. We did not reduce our parklands. It's in a different place, but we've still got it. Tara Sundin, who you may have worked with, is a wonderful employee of the city, and I guess I booted her upstairs. She works for me now, and she was a project manager on the waterfront, and she did an excellent job of keeping probably 8 department heads focused on getting these documents drafted and to the planning department so they can go to the commission. We have been through the Waterfront Advisory Group, the WAG. They have made comments. We're going through the Transportation Commission and the Historic Preservation Committee, and we have several other committees and commissions that will be looking at this to give feedback that will then be all packaged together and go to the Planning Commission. We're hoping that happens in March, so please pay attention to that date if you're interested in commenting on the waterfront plans, because that will be your first opportunity to do that. And that's pretty exciting too. That's something I've been working on for 15 years, ever since Georgia Pacific thought about going out of business. So that was a long time ago. Lake Whatcom. This is a hard one because most of Lake Whatcom is not in the control of the city of Bellingham. We have a significant development on Lake Whatcom that we need to pay attention to, and we are going to be reviewing how we prevent runoff within our own growth that is there. But we also need to work with the county and the city, the sewer and water district, to make sure that we have common goals, a common strategy, a common commitment to pay for what it's going to take. And I have found that working with Executive Laos has been very inspirational on that part, because here's a gentleman that came in and understood that everyone needs to pay their fair share. And so it doesn't have to be the city that carries some of that outside the city limit requirements. Now, they might not be as excited about protecting pieces of property as we are in the city, but they are excited about having some common policies, like the invasive species policy that they put in place, which followed what the city council did, in paying for infrastructure in places that don't have enough infrastructure, like Sudden Valley and Geneva, and for us, being willing to look at investments within the city limits in Silver Beach. Now, that's something that I don't know has gone on before, but it's very encouraging to know that you have partners and you're all focusing on the same goal, but you might do different parts of it, so we don't always have to go lockstep together. But in the end, we can't really afford to recreate the Lake Whatcom Reservoir, and I really don't want to do that either. We are going to be reviewing the Silver Beach ordinance this year and making sure that we can use our money to get the best result for the most people. It's been a very expensive program, which helps some people do an excellent job of re-engineering their yards, but it wasn't enough, and we need to get everybody to do a little bit. So we're working on that, and we want to get neighborhood involvement out there too, so that we don't necessarily come in and tell people what to do on their property, but we work with them on how to protect the runoff from going onto the streets and onto the lake, which also means that we have to do our part as far as the roads go. So that's an ongoing issue. I'd say of all the issues that we worked on this last year, that's probably the one where we made the least progress. But one of the things that we also did is we hired a natural resource manager. And anybody here from the county? Good, I can say this. We hired John Hutchings from the county. I'm sorry. We didn't go recruit him. He applied for the assistant public works director job. Yeah, be nice to him still. He's a good guy. And he has been someone who worked at the county level on water quality and water issues. He is now going to coordinate all the city's environmental programs. We have never had someone who coordinated those programs before. And I think we're going to get better results. I think it's going to be more effective to have everyone working together than having multiple grants, because a lot of this is funded by grants with no kind of group consensus on what we're trying to achieve. So that was probably one of the biggest things we did, is get that upper level management coordinator to make sure that we get something more done on the lake. How many of you called 911? I got somebody. Didn't you like it when they showed up? Oh. Well, the reason I say that is, as of December of last year, we had a policy that was in place at the county that would have basically cut 911 or Medic 1 in half. So there would be a county system and a city system. One of the things that Jack Louse and I agreed on right in January was, we think that a united system is better for the public, both on the financial side and on the service side. I'm going to have to get a drink of water. And both of our councils adopted a resolution that said, we believe that too. So I thank Michael for doing that. It was really important. We are now in the first phase of negotiating contracts with the county. Bellingham will retain the administration, but it will be under an oversight board. I hope I can answer questions. It will be under an oversight board, and then we'll each have our own units that are also funded by the county system. So I think it's good news for the community and for people who call 911. That was a hard one, though. Very complex issues, not as simple as it looks on the surface, and it's going well. Capital facilities. We want to make sure we don't get ahead of our maintenance.
The audience has gratefully provided a cough drop, if you like.
Thank you. Whoever did this for me, I appreciate it. Thanks. Now let's see if I can talk and suck on this at the same time. We don't have a real capital facilities plan. We don't have money set aside for our regular operation and maintenance. And our capital investments are one of the biggest things we do. We have to make sure that we're not allowing our facilities to degrade to the point where we can't use them. So one of our priorities was on the idea of fixing things first. We build beautiful new things that I really think are great, but we have to, while we're thinking about building something new, fix what we have at the same time. So Ted Carlson, who is our Public Works Director, who does a great job, is going through a facilities condition assessment, and we're also doing, at Michael's request, but I think it's a very good idea, a facilities use assessment too, because we have underutilized, non-utilized properties that the city owns, and we need to make sure that we're maximizing the space that we're involved with, and maybe letting go of some of the things that we don't need. And one of them is the Municipal Courthouse. I don't know how many of you have been in the Municipal Courthouse. I've been there several times for forums, not tickets. But the building itself needs a lot of investment to bring it up to where it needs to be. And we're going to have a choice of relocating the services that are in that building and then potentially putting that to a higher and better use, or investing a lot into that building and spreading our resources too thin. So we're in the process this year of looking at that, and also what we're going to do with the federal building. You know, the federal building is a wonderful, beautiful, historic piece of property that probably is most suitable for government offices, so that's part of what Public Works is doing too, is coming up with a plan that will be presented to the council about, can we use this for the city and the county, for whoever it might be. Because right now that facility costs us over $200,000 a year when it's sitting empty, you know, aside the operation of it. So capital facility big things, we have Post Point. So we're going through, how many millions of dollars was that? $55 million construction project down at Post Point to make sure that we have clean water. It's an enormous project. It's going very smoothly. The only problem that we have, and if Dick Little was still our lobbyist, I'd be telling him, and I have to tell our new lobbyist, state budget's in really bad shape, and they're thinking about maybe not committing the capital dollars to projects that are already underway. Kind of like, So I'm going to use whatever connections I might have down there to lobby really hard to have that not happen. It doesn't mean the project wouldn't go through. It just means that we would have to pay a higher interest rate on the money that we have to borrow. But it's significant. Library fans, of which I am one, and Rachel's one. The library has gone through a strategic planning process. They've come up with a strategic plan. I asked them to start with what they needed for service first and work into new buildings. And I think they did that very well. And so we're going to be looking at how the library, the Bellingham Public Library, was the only department that did not take a cut this year, because we are already under-servicing our community by the number of hours we're open, by our materials that are coming in. We have great partnerships with the Whatcom County Library System. At some point, we might say, should we be part of that system or not? But right now, we do a lot of things in conjunction with them that save us money in the long run. And we are going to try to up our services to the point where we say we need a new facility. It makes sense because we can't provide the services that we want in the facilities we have. We're not quite there yet. And I know it makes the library board really nervous when I talk like this. Don't tell them what I said. But we have a great library director, Pam Kiesner, who's an advocate for all of you. And we're going to have a, excuse me, Whatcom Reads opportunity on the, I look out here and I see people I know who know. Snow Falling on Cedars was the book that we were all supposed to read this year. I actually read it, and I'm excited to meet the author. So anyway, those are the main things that we said we were going to work on, that we worked on. There are a whole host of other things. Mainly, you can walk in my office now, the door's not locked. My husband was really impressed with that. So anyway, I am going to open it up for questions now because I think my tickle's gone.